Hey, welcome to This is Gravel. This week we have Surviving the Epic and we have Gravel Ride for Maisie's Pride. We also have a little bit of social media and we always have a little teensy bit of high school talk. We love those boys.
Absolutely.
Hey, welcome to This is Gravel. I am Bobby Thompson and with me today,
Neil Taylor.
Neil, how you doing? What's been going on?
I've been riding bikes a whole lot. 3 of the last 4 days, I've gotten about 40 miles or more each day. So trying to knock out some miles because...
You're getting the high school tribe ready, aren't you?
Yeah, trying to get them ready too. Haven't been doing as much riding with them recently. Their schedules are getting busy. That's the hard thing for these students is that as they gear up towards the end of the year, they're just getting projects and everything dumped on and all the things that they weren't doing because we were riding bikes. Now they're having to get done. And so
their biggest ride is coming up, their schoolwork is escalating also.
Yes. And so we're trying to get out, and get some pretty good rides in this weekend. We're looking to at least get about 60 or 70 and really make sure at least those kids that are doing the 100 are good to go. My kids that are doing the high school race, I think are set. Mm-hmm. They've already done that distance many times, so more or less for them it's focusing on speed. But for my kids that have to endure 100 miles, they need to get out and start tackling some bigger rides. So hopefully, like I say, this weekend, maybe the weekend after, getting them out and doing some 60-plus mile rides for them. So,
that's good.
Yeah. So what have you been up to, man? It's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah. I was thinking about that today. Well, we'll get into the Epic here in a minute. I had a blast down there, and then I got Maisie's coming up, which we'll talk about that for a minute. But this last week, actually, yesterday was the first day I was on a bike since the Epic. It's been allergy and head cold season.
Yes.
Whether it was caused by the Epic or just body worn down by the Epic, but the very next day I got hit hard. And by Monday and Tuesday of that week, I wasn't focusing very well, and so I just took some time off and then let the body recoup. I knew I had some hard rides coming up.
Nothing wrong with a little recovery week. I mean, I was telling Matt on the last show that, I'd done, I think, 5 out of the last 6 weeks were over 100 miles those weeks, which I hadn't been doing really that. And so after we did that show, I think that week I only did like 20 miles that whole week. Yeah. I just was like, you know what, just take a little break, and then got right back at it. Did about 150 last week, and every now and then the body needs to recover, and you just need to take a little bit of time off the bike. So.
Yeah. Well, mentally do a little something else, So I worked on bikes at home, got those prepped and ready, and then did a lot of honeydew chores around the house. So, which is important also.
Yeah, there's some good time for those things. So you talk about being out at the Epic, and I think Matt's gonna give us our highlight reel here and trying to show us what went out there at the Epic. It looks like a great time. I just need to try to petition to either A, get my wife to not be out of town so I'm home watching the kids that weekend.
Right.
Or to just make sure it's on a weekend I can make it. Because every year I see it, I see the highlights, I see what you guys are doing, and it's like, I want to be out there. But my wife was out of town in Oklahoma, so I was rocking it with the kids and watching the Avengers movie a couple times.
Which is a good thing, too.
Yeah. So let's check out the highlights.
Yeah, so it's always good to see on course Matt and, well, this time it was Matt and Dustin. Greatly appreciate Gravel Guru, and there was the other photographers that were on course as well. Always gives you that little bit of a, lift in spirits. When you see them coming by, no matter how tired you are, you really want to put on that smile for the camera and at least look like you're having a blast out there, which you usually are on the inside. But getting that to show on the outside isn't always the easiest.
I think if there were more photographers all over the place, I might have motivation to ride more and harder throughout the race. I remember my first race ever was the DK Half Pint 100 back in 2014, and the first photographer I remember seeing was at the top of one of the hills on V Road, right towards the end of that.
Right.
When it used to kind of take that route at Cottonwood Falls, and I was like, I do not want to climb this hill right now. I'm tired. Again, this is 6 years ago. I had just started riding. And I'm like, well, I can't walk up this hill, though. I don't want my picture to be remembered as me walking it. So I just had to keep going. So, yeah, having the photographers out there, having the crew always helps. So we got to see those highlights, Bobby. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your highlights?
Well, I channeled my inner Neil, and I went 90-mile single speed down there. And we had about, I think it was 7,000 to 8,000 feet of climbing for those 90 miles, which is pretty aggressive. And very unsure what gearing to choose, so I just went for something, and I had probably one of the most fun events I've been to in a long time. It's because I don't want to say there are none, because someone will rush out just to prove me wrong, but there are very, very few miles of flat. Yeah. So spinning out in between climbs is not the issue that it normally may be, where I get kind of bored in that spin out zone. You are constantly, all right, there's another hill. All right, there's another hill. All right, there's another hill. And the downhills are fast and aggressive enough that they keep you focused, because a lot of the low water bridges and a lot of the downhills end in a curve. My GPS wasn't keeping up fast enough to give me the turn by turns. So you'd be going down and you're not sure if you're going left or right, so you got to kind of ease it on the brakes. And then I always wanted to, even if I knew which way I was going, I'd want to hit it aggressively so I could, because you knew another hill was coming. Well, you didn't know if another low water concrete bridge was going to be there, and these weren't just the ride through bridges. You needed to be a little cautious and careful on most of these bridges. There's some pretty good pictures. My friend Jim Phillips, Vinny from Cantu, Paulina from here, and Dan Hughes all wiped out together, because there was a lot of moss on these bridges also. Yeah. So even if you had a good line, it could get really slick. So I had a lot of fun, though, and a lot of people, you always want to have fun, but when you've probably been in this situation, when you line up as a single speeder, usually the grouping's a little bit smaller. So I knew there were 10 of us, so I knew that there was a little bit of a race aspect to it, but not really, because you're just climbing. Yeah. Right. It's not like you can just hunker down and go. So it's still just a personal challenge, but you do kind of keep an eye. And I knew that I was anywhere between third and fifth. Right. I knew that Jeff was ahead of me. I knew that the stud Lucas Wilson was going to win the thing. And then I remembered another tall guy. So I thought I was fourth. And for 82 of the 89 miles, I knew where I was at. And we came up this hill, this last long hill where I walked a bunch. And I looked back and did a double take, and it was my buddy Joe, who was another single speeder, who was catching up. I'm like, oh, crap. I got nothing. I've been cramping since mile 35. So he came up, and did you doing okay? You doing okay? Yeah, no, I'm doing great. And so he rides by, and there's that instant of, well, it didn't really matter. I'm just going to coast in. Good job, Joe. And then you think, you know what? I'm 4 miles from the finish. I don't get in this position very often. I'll give him what I got. And so I cranked it up and chased him, and I got between, I don't know, probably about 30 feet behind him, and I yelled out to him, dude, I don't want to ride this hard. Can we slow it down? And he's like, what? I said, quit making me work. And about that time, we curve, and there's 2 miles left, and I'm almost catching up. I think I'm going to do this. And we hit the last 2 miles are almost all uphill. Not super steep, but enough on a single speed. And both legs, quads, calves, ankles, and feet completely locked up on me. So I slowed to a stop and fell over in the middle of there's pavement. And so in the middle of the pavement, I'm in the middle of the lane, and I'm just kind of laying there, and the bike's laying on top of me, and I can't move because I'm completely locked. I mean, I'm just completely locked, and so I'm like looking for cars, and 3 cars raced by me in the other lane. None of them stopped, and I'm laying there. Luckily, none came this way. And finally, a guy stops and says, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "Can you get me off the highway?" And so he moves the bike over, and I'm not kidding. I put my hands down and I shift because my legs are still locked. I shift my way over in the grass, and I just got to sit there. I was like, "Good job, Joe," because at that point I'm done. And then when I finally got on my bike, 1 mile left to go, another single speeder went by, and I just started laughing. I mean, it's what it is, it's fun. So I dropped 3rd to 5th in the last 2 miles, but it is what it is, and it was a blast. And I would say that if I go back to the event is very well ran. 350 riders was the perfect amount for the park space that they had it in. I would do the 90 mile again. I think the 150 is definitely a challenge. And I kind of like the aspect of blowing yourself up, but still being able to cheer on others and not being completely wasted. So the 90 miles, I do think Singlespeed allowed me to enjoy the ride like I wouldn't have if I had gears. A lot of the geared guys, I was actually catching some of them walking. While I was walking up a hill, I was catching them spinning up the hill. And I'm like, dude, if you got to spin in that gear at the same speed I'm walking, maybe you should just walk.
Last year at Maisies, I experienced that exact same thing. Guys are spinning up a hill, and I was trying to, and I couldn't keep a slow enough cadence to stay behind him. I'm like, you know what, forget it. I can hop off my bike and walk at this pace. And so that's exactly what I did. I just walked right past people up hills at Maisies because it was just like, if you're going to spin at that slow of a speed, why
one guy even looked over me at one point. I actually caught him as I was walking. He looked over at me, and we're just kind of quiet. He's riding, I'm walking. No one's saying a word. And finally he says, "If you beat me up this hill, I'm going to be pissed." I'm like, "Well, then walk. You can walk too. You can." Exactly. But, I mean, he was joking, but but half joking because he's thinking this. So it was a very well ran event. Kent, Don, and Josh do a wonderful job. The event has grown and matured. I would definitely say go for it. It's gorgeous down there, and it is a workout. So yeah, they did great. I plan on going back next year. So.
Awesome, good stuff.
And I would definitely 100% do single speed again.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone kept asking, well, what do you think about your gearing and blah blah blah. You know what? Every hill you're walking anyway at some point in time. So I don't know if I'd even lose a gear. I mean, because I was fine, except when I wasn't. Yeah. And even with gearing, you're going to be that way. So
exactly.
Yeah. And the reason I cramped was just it's muscles that haven't been used that strenuously in a long time in that circumstance. Usually, you have some flats and you have some time to recover, and this was not. This was boom, boom.
Yeah, there's no on the bike recovery.
Right.
Relaxed time to get everything back.
No,
in
and
check.
even going downhill, you're not really relaxing the muscles because it's sharp downhills and your legs are, trying to stabilize yourself. So, but I loved it. So, Ted was down there. Ted King got down there, and he got first in men's 90 because the 90 mile is the race, and then. Kai got down there with Panaracer, and she got first place in the women's, and that was a blast. They're amazing riders. And just one real quick, because I know we didn't get an interview with him, but Matt Stevens, who won the 150, Matt, kudos to you, man. So Matt hit one of those areas I was telling you about so hard that he actually fractured both of his carbon wheels, and luckily his teammate Bob was pretty close to him, and so Bob swapped wheel sets. Matt had road rash all up and down the back, side. At the time, whether it was broken or not, he felt like he had a broken hand. He was in that much pain, and he still went on and actually crushed the 150. So, kudos to him. I think I would have been calling in a beer at that point in time. So that's amazing. So, and then you had Vinny from Cantu Cycling Wheels, who won the women's 150 back-to-back 150. Yeah. Even with her going down and taking a bath behind Jim. Have you seen the picture yet?
I've not. No, okay. I'm really going to be looking all over for this now. I want to see this.
This is going to be the perfect segue then, and I know that'll make Matt happy too. Let's do the segue into social media this week. I'm sure Matt can cue up that picture for you, and then we'll lead into all your rides and all the other pictures from down there. And it was just awesome down there.
Hey guys, here is this photo from photographer Brad Glidewell of the crash there at the Epic 2 weeks ago. From left to right, you have Dan Hughes, Paulina Batiz, and Vinny, and Jim Phillips all going down in the water. What a great shot there, Brad. Next up is Ryan Swanson. He was out with the Flint Hills Graveliers, and they rolled 65 miles of gravel in Pottawatomie County Saturday. Joe got a chance to go ride with the friends in the Pirate Cycling League's Tour of Dirt Roads in Nebraska. Despite an early afternoon rain shower, they were still able to get in 77 miles of beautiful dirt roads. Steve was out exploring the Tour of Herman. Always a great event, he says. Angel is here recognizing her awesome team that sagged for so many riders this past weekend at La Grind. They saw so many awesome riders and loved being out there to recognize and raise money for Handlebars of Hope. Jennifer Johnson was also out riding the La Grind stage race this weekend. Sun, wind, water, and several hundred of the gravel tribe were there. Scott Johnson was out bikepacking in the Osage Hills near Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Looks like a lot of fun there, Scott. Can't wait to get out bikepacking myself. Murray was also out taking in part of the Tour of Herman Gravel Challenge. Rich went out and rode the entirety of the White Pine Trail. Looks like fun there, Rich. Grant was out exploring the back roads south of Ludington, Michigan. Finally said there's some beautiful weather. Greg was out riding in the Black Hills. Someone put some white stuff out here on the high elevation gravel. That still looks cold up there, Greg. Tim was out riding in a gravel grinder from Fairfax, California to the Ales and Trails Bike Fest. Cassie Krotz was out getting the miles in on the Frisco Highline Trail in Missouri. Carrie was exploring the Chino grinder outside of Prescott, Arizona. Nick McCurry was out exploring part of the Arkansas High Country route that they just released through the Adventure Cycling Association. That route looks like an awesome route to go explore out there in Arkansas. Thank you to everybody that posted and commented on our social media, leaving a photo of where you've been riding. Can't wait to see some more.
So, the picture. It was the perfect moment for that photographer. Every droplet of water. So, it was a perfect picture. So, I'm glad you guys all sent those in. Thank you so much. Coming up this weekend, are you going to make it out to Maisies, or are you going to ride with the high schoolers? Or are you going to bring the high schoolers out to Maisies?
We'll see. I mean, it's getting, these high schoolers to be able, like I said, to commit the time, money, other things
and
to go
getting them
there
out of town is a little bit more of a struggle. So
yeah, out of town, even though it's not too far up to Eskridge from here, it definitely, anytime you're taking kids on a road trip, there's a little bit more, logistics and figuring out getting it happening. But I'd love to, at least if, do the 50 up there, because that's some good climbing, some good riding up there. Even if we don't, I know we're going to get out for a ride. It'll be weird, though, because if I don't get up there, it will be the first time I've missed Maisies in probably the last 5 years now. And it is always such a good race to do right before going into DK, and especially this year. Uncle Dudley's got a 120-mile course that when he put the route out earlier this week, I saw that, and I just started drooling, and I was like, I wonder if my kids would just mind like them going and doing the 50, and I could ride the 120. And
yeah, no kidding. I saw that 120, and I'll say this: every race is as hard as you want the race to be. But the rock and the roads up in Wabaunsee County, even if you ride them slower, still beat you up. Oh, yeah. And that's really where the fatigue starts to set in, even on the 100-mile event. So let alone Ryan putting 19 extra miles onto the event. Let's say 19. It's not 20. It's 119. Don't make me worry about that extra mile. 119 miles on the event. I've actually done the 100 one time, and it was the most because I had a cold, which this is sounding very familiar. That's the most I had suffered in a long time on a ride. And now I'm going to go up and I'm going to do the 120.
You talk about beating you up. I mean, I remember that year that you did the last time you've done Maisies. I mean, that year I was rolling really good. They had about an aid station about mile 40, and when I rolled in, I asked, where are we at? And I mean, I wasn't riding super fast, but he's like, there's probably about 30, 35 people ahead of you. I'm like, really? And so I got all excited to get ready to go. And then we hit like a 6-mile stretch of divide road back into Eskridge that year. Yeah. And that just beat me to pieces to the point that I was like, when I hit Eskridge, it was like, do I want to ride another 50, or do I just want to sit down and get some sloppy joes and relax? And it was sit down, get some sloppy joes, and relax.
A lot of people did that year, and the only reason I kept going, I'll be honest with you, the only reason I kept going is I was riding with Jeff and Sean O'Mara, and sitting down wasn't in their head, so it wasn't I didn't give it much thought because after the initial thought was like, oh, they're leaving me. I better go catch them. And that was it.
Yeah.
You know, but riding out of town, I saw plenty of people sitting and I'm like, that should be forewarning right there. But
it's always a tough race.
It's a great event. I think there's about 200 people going this year signed up. Last minute Friday sign up and Saturday morning sign up is available. So if you can make it up there, please do. The starting point is at Lake Wabaunsee, which is just west of Eskridge, a few miles. You can't miss it if you start heading out that way. And the 50 mile is just enough to give you a little bit of pain, and then you can rest and enjoy the rest of the day. So if nothing else, I encourage you to get up there and do the 50, especially if you live within a couple hours of the event. Come on out and ride with us. So,
and not only that too. I mean, just make sure let's mention of what the race is all about. You know, gravel ride for Maisie's pride. It's to support the pool there in Eskridge. The pool, you know, Eskridge is a small town here within the Flint Hills of Kansas that they didn't have a pool, and this lady Maisie decided that she was going to go collect cans up and down K4, you know, for 30 years so that this town could have a pool, and it now does. And really, the only reason it opens up every year is because Ryan puts this race on, raises the money that, you know, are basically our entry fees, and that covers the cost of getting this pool running each and every year.
Yeah.
So it's
cost of the maintenance and everything on the pool.
Yeah.
So, I definitely encourage you to come on up or come on down wherever you're driving from. So we'll see you there, and you can see me suffer, and maybe you'll even get to see Taylor and his boys up there. So
Let's hope so.
Look forward to seeing you. Bye.